Good afternoon from Manhattan, and very, very warm welcome to each one of you from Manhattan Meditation Center to our Learn to Meditate Introduction course. When I came in contact with Brahma Kumaris, and that was about 10, 11 years back, I was in India, and that time I did not have much of a global exposure. And I was kind of having a proud feeling about my values that, I did not believe in any of the religions or caste or, and I basically no discrimination when I say believe. And for me, every person is an Indian, and I used to feel very proud about that. Um, so about 10, 11 years back, on television, there used to be a program called Awakening with Brahma Kumaris, and I used to watch it every day. You might know one of the senior teacher at Brahma Kumaris, and she's known by Sister Shivani. And one day she explained who we truly are, who are we spiritually. And that day, it was a really eye-opening time for me because that time, all those boundaries of country also collapsed in my mind, and I could truly feel that whole world is a one family. um, and and I really that time I felt that if every human being on this earth, if they understand who we are, there will be a truly a peace and unity in the whole world. And I'm sharing this with all of you because I really want to thank you, each and every one of you, for being here today, for being a part of this family, and giving us opportunity to meet with you all. So thank you very much. Now, little bit about introduction, little bit about teachers or facilitators for today and tomorrow. My name is Shweta Takate, and I've been practicing meditation at Brahma Kumaris from more than 2 years. By profession, I am an engineer, you can say software professional, working with one of the networking firm called Cisco Systems. And for me, this journey of more than 2 years of meditation has been just wonderful. Um, and I started teaching now, but honestly, for me, I feel teacher is a very respected and honored word. And I would say you can just consider me as your true friend who would love to share with all of you from a true heart. We also have Subain Bose with us, and he's based in Albany. By profession, he is a business analyst at State of New York, and he has been practicing meditation at Brahma Kumaris from more than 8 years now. And he loves practicing every day and very sincere, and he's a very calm and loving person, and he has a very unique sense of humor. I feel it is very unique. Okay, and we also have with us Rona Shoiz. She's here at present with me at the center. Some of you may know her already, but she is a coordinator of Manhattan's Meditation Center of Brahma Kumaris. And she has been practicing meditation from more than 25 years. And we really love her and respect her a lot. She sustains us every day, teaches us every day. And one beautiful thing is, like, even though she's a teacher and she has been practicing meditation more than 25 years, she still call herself as a student. Because meditation is all about practicing and practicing and gaining those experiences. The more we practice, the more the deeper experience that we get, and we understand more about ourselves. Okay, now before we start, just a little bit about how these 2 days, what can you expect from these 2 days, 2 sessions. um, One is, of course, we will have meditations. There would be guided meditations, and there would be a knowledge that is required for you to thoroughly grasp some of the concepts that are required to practice your meditation. You will get steps and some of the topics, which you can choose your meditation. But one thing before I forget. So if you have any question during the session, just note them down for now in your notebook or something, and we'll try to address them by the end of the session today. And if at all there is not enough time today, we have dedicated longer and more time tomorrow. So we'll try to cover all the questions in these 2 days. Uh, okay. And one thing I will just tell you, like, this is the time that um, you are dedicating for yourself. So just focus, just let go of any of the other things that are probably going on in mind or in house. I know we are all online now. So just let go and just focus and sit and let that child within you come out and be curious about learning something new today. Okay, so now I would say just sit back, relax, and fasten your seatbelts. But because we are going to fly and go on a journey of meditation, and I will invite Rona Schweitz, our expert and senior pilot, so that we can have a smooth takeoff. Rona.
Good afternoon, everyone. So let us start with a meditation. And the first step of meditation, we will just elaborate on that. Just keep the body comfortable. And there is no need to close your eyes. In this meditation, we actually encourage people to leave the eyes open, but not consciously looking. Just rest your gaze somewhere in front of you, but feel comfortable. And we will do this first step of becoming more introvert. So let us aim to use this mental power that we all have to concentrate, but in a relaxed way. Become aware of your surroundings. There may be some objects, there may be some sound, there may be some movement, there may be others around. Completely accept the present scene and your surroundings. Become aware of the position of the body. Make sure that the back is straight and the feet flat on the ground, and consciously relax the body. And be aware of the sensations of the body and how the back touches the back of the chair. Just bring all your attention here and now. Consciously relax the shoulders and the muscles of the neck and the muscles of face. And let the breathing be regular. And let there be that awareness of how, with every breath, air is pulled into the lungs. Inhale and exhale. And be aware of how the air is pushed out of the lungs. Just create that conscious awareness of these little things that we so often take for granted. This body is like a big gift. Inhale and exhale. And consciously relax the muscles of your face. And now become aware of the one who is experiencing all of this. The one who is experiencing the bodily sensations. The one who is using the mouth to speak, using the body to move. The one who is using the eyes to see, the inner being, the higher being. Not just create that awareness, there is one who is operating this body. There is one who is listening through the ears and trying to make sense of the information. The one who is as if sitting behind the eyes, using the eyes as windows. The inner being, the higher being, the being of consciousness. And this being is a guest in this body. The driver and the body is a vehicle. And we can use the image of a tiny star in the center of the forehead, just behind the eyes. Tiny living light, the soul. And just try and get familiarized with this state of mind and this awareness of the invisible true self, the soul. Living, conscient being of light. And just hold these kinds of thoughts for a few moments in your awareness. True living conscious light, one who is a guest in this body, a guest in this physical world, the soul. This is the real self, timeless, free, pure, invisible, living star. And as we continue our journey, let us aim to hold this awareness, the higher being, the real self, the being of consciousness, a guest in this body, operating from behind the eyes, using the eyes as windows. Thank you for this meditation.
Okay. So the word meditation, right? It's very very popular nowadays. Everybody wants to meditate, and there could be many different techniques of meditation that are available, and not every meditation technique will give you a similar result or exact same result. There could be some would be like for concentration or silencing mind, etc. um, the meditation that is offered by Brahma Kumaris is called as Raj Yoga meditation. And this meditation is about connecting to our inner being. And little bit of that, what you experienced just now in the meditation, connecting to more that inner being, understanding more about it, understanding that inner world that exists, which is mind, intellect, and habits, and which you will learn more about it in upcoming classes. But the word Raj Yoga, what does it mean? Raja means king, and yoga, you can say, for now, it means meditation. So the meditation that would make you a king. And maybe I know, probably I could sense what you are thinking, but it's not a king of people. It's about being a king of your own self. Now, to give you some examples, like if you would have noticed, sometimes we cannot take easily some of the daily basis decisions, right? Forget about the bigger decisions in life, but even a day-to-day life. And I can tell you from my experience, like what to cook today for lunch or dinner, this or that, or should I go to work by train or car, or should I buy this or that. I mean, there are like always all these small things, and we think, oh, I was into two minds and I couldn't decide. Another example is, sometimes you feel like there is no reason, and you feel, okay, I am not in good mood. Probably a day is beautiful, it's nice sunny day outside, and you feel, I'm not in good mood and I don't know what's happening. Or otherwise, sometimes you feel there is absolutely no reason for you to be happy, and still you're like jumping and dancing and singing. And of course, that is best. And that's what we want each and every time, right? Or to give another example, like sometimes you feel like a day is, you have a certain timetable in front of you and you're not able to follow it. You don't know where time went exactly. So, Raj Yoga meditation is gaining that mastery about inner world, creating that inner balance and harmony within and inside. Um, and there is a study, and by which it tells that the every person probably creates about 40,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day. And sometimes, honestly, I feel it could be more because you're constantly thinking about something. So just imagine in 1 minute how many thoughts we create. And you would have observed this, I'm very sure, is sometimes, we haven't done much of a physical work in a day, and we still feel like, or maybe in 1 hour, and we feel, oh, I feel so tired. And you know why that is? Because the mind is creating so many thoughts and they are so fast that you feel tired. So, Raj Yoga meditation, with the meditation, once you learn and once you practice, the speed of the thoughts, it becomes slow, and you can create those quality of thoughts, the thoughts which are higher in potential, thoughts which are spiritual in nature. Um, and this word spiritual, and I would like to little bit kind of mention about that, and that is because a few years back, before I learned about Raj Yoga meditation. For me, somehow, when this word spiritual used to come in front of me, I used to somehow think of like some temples and bells and candles and essence, and I don't know why. So I just want to little bit clarify more that spiritual means related to spirit. And you would probably know this already. You might be smarter than me, but it means spirit, related to spirit, related to your inner being. So Raj Yoga teaches us to create those thoughts which are higher in potential, and the thoughts which would create that inner balance and inner harmony. And what you will achieve by doing that, you can actually, once you have that inner harmony and balance, you can automatically achieve absolutely anything that you would like. For example, when there is that inner harmony and balance, it manifests that through our words, through our interactions, through certain actions, or it can even help you find a true meaning of life for yourself. It can also help you manage your time well. Of course, it can help you with your concentration. And when that inner balance is there, you can create that calm and peace for yourself, because you are actually connecting to your true inner being, and you can discover that inner strength that is already there within us, and we haven't yet discovered about it. So, having said that, so these lessons would be, as I said, meditation experiences, and there would be this spiritual knowledge, that would be shared, that is required for you to grasp these concepts very thoroughly. Okay. Now, one of the fundamental question, um, that is very important, or probably sometimes we ask to ourselves, because when I was a child, I really used to think about it, like, who am I really? So who are we really? And we will probably use now this board and trying to see. Okay. uh yeah, I guess this is visible. Is the sound still okay, Sabine?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. So when we think of who am I or who we are, what comes in front of us? Very first image, this body, right? So, okay. So let's do a little bit sketching here. Okay. I'm trying to see that it is visible in the camera. Okay. Okay. Say this is us, the body, right? And what else? Like there are things that surround us, right? For example, it there are, we will live somewhere, so a house or an apartment, um, job maybe, right?
Mhm.
Or education. I'll use this short form here. What else? More important nowadays, a cell phone, right? And well, nowadays there are all touch screen, but yeah, that's a cell phone. And then hobbies, right? Um, sport, maybe. Um, what else? Maybe there are like schools and buildings, and there are financial situations, right? So all these things. And
Your screen is frozen. Okay. Okay.
okay, now I think,
Okay.
yeah, okay, I guess it is better now. Okay. And
We can't see
so
the
when
bottom
we,
part. We cannot see the bottom part.
yeah, we are adjusting the camera. Okay. So all
This
these physical things that exist, including this body, there is this inner being that is always experiencing this. For example, if for example I cut myself here, I would feel a pain. And who is feeling that? Who is experiencing that? That's the inner being. If I put my hand near fire, I will feel heat, right? So who is feeling that? Who is experiencing that? That's the inner being. Or in New York, there is a cold outside. It's snow. It was snowing and it's very cold. So we feel cold. So who is feeling that? There is this inner being, the invisible being, you can say. And we represent it as a star. I hope this is visible.
yes.
Okay. Um, tiny point of light, star, or inner being. And actually, if you would have noticed, we call ourselves as human beings, and we understand the human part of it, which is visible, and it's pretty much like every day we see this body, we see all these things. So that is all the human part of it. But who is this being? We never think of it, right? So this is that invisible being that is experiencing and expressing through this body and trying to communicate through this body. Even right now, you are hearing to these words, the inner being that is actually listening through your ears. Or I am communicating to you, this inner being is communicating through this mouth, through this, using this body. And this being, it is called as, there are many names that most of us are kind of we have heard. There are many names, and one is soul. It is also called as spirit, that inner being or inner consciousness. or it is also called as life force or life. And all the things in this physically that we see, including this body, everything has a beginning and an ending, right? If you really think about it, there is a beginning and end to each and everything. We are born and we die one day. This body dies. But this inner being, it doesn't necessarily begin with the beginning of this body, and it doesn't necessarily end with the end of this body. It definitely, at one stage, it enters the physical world, this body, and of course, in a womb, but it experiences, it expresses, it travels, and at one stage, it leaves this physical world. And let us try to understand this even further. So, we actually call this as an invisible. We can't see this with eyes, right? We see a body, we see these things, but we can't see this inner being with the eyes. We can't touch it. It is invisible. And it is invisible because there is this dimension of matter, dimension of sound, and there is a dimension of a being. Um, in little bit to understand even further, when we talk and we mention a little bit about thoughts, right? So when throughout the day we think, we actually, out of all these things that exist, and there could be like family, where you live, your job, education, and food is also another area actually. We actually think repetitively, and we think of mostly just two or three things out of all these things. And actually, studies have showed that 95% of our thoughts are repetitive in nature. Basically, 95% of thoughts that I have today, they were same as that of yesterday. So actually, um, we we have lost this bigger picture or bigger sight, right? Um, Now, this inner being, it actually, when it enters this physical world at one stage and it lives, it travels through this space and time. So, to understand, we can actually call it as a guest. It is actually a guest in this physical world or in this body because it doesn't belong here. It is a guest, or we can also call it as a traveler. And when we say guest, now, for example, if somebody invites you to their place, their house, you visit them as a guest, right? We go to their place and we know that that's temporary. We are gonna come back to our home at one time, right? For certain period, we visit and we come back. And when we go to somebody's place as a guest, we probably enter their house. We enjoy the hospitality, enjoy the food or tea or coffee that is offered. Um, we probably see nice wall hangings, nice wall decor, a flower pot maybe, and we appreciate it, right? And we appreciate it. We don't say that we own it or it's mine, right? We know that that's temporary. We just visit and we come back, right? We don't own anything there. And what would happen if we start visiting somebody and start saying, oh, that chair is mine, or I like that flower pot, that is mine, right? You can imagine what would happen. And we will talk about little bit about that in upcoming classes later. But for now, just stay with this consciousness of a guest. So in meditation, actually, when we become aware of this inner being, our inner self, and we try to understand this consciousness of a guest, how it is like, how that mindset is like when this being is a guest in this physical world or in this physical body. So this is one of the areas that we experience in meditation. And maybe before going further, maybe let us try to experience this little bit. Okay, so now just sit comfortably. Again, relax your shoulders, relax your neck. Just be comfortable. Make sure your back is straight. And let go of any of those external things that is happening around. Just be introverted and focus. Become aware of this inner being. A tiny star, a tiny point of light at the center of the forehead. Try to listen to your heartbeats. Who is listening to those heartbeats? The invisible inner being. Inhale and exhale and feel the air. Who is experiencing it? This tiny star, a guest in this body, in this physical world. A timeless and free being. It appreciates this body. It appreciates all the physical things that are around. But it knows that it doesn't own anything. It is a guest, a traveler. All the other people, the interactions, everything is like an extra gift. A timeless, tiny star, a guest in this body. And as we continue this journey, we try to experience, we try to be aware of this consciousness of guest, even when we come into actions. Thank you. So I hope you got a little bit feeling and experience of that. And even if not, don't worry about it. We are going to do more meditations and we are going to experience more. So now I will invite Subin, our third pilot, who is gonna take us even further on the journey. So, Subin?
You all see me and see the board?
Yes, we can
Okay.
see you and we see the board.
Okay. So thank you for the wonderful meditation and the topics. So once again, you can see on the board a similar picture. It was drawn ahead of time because I don't trust my drawing skills, unlike my other co-pilot. So one of the things or the aim of meditation is to get into an experience which is spiritual in nature. An example will be an experience of inner peace, an experience of harmony, an experience of clarity and balance. Now, to get these experiences, we have to have thoughts that lead us into these experiences. In other words, we have to create spiritual thoughts. Now, the topics that we just introduced, these are the contents of spiritual thoughts. Now, if we truly understand the truth of the real self as a spiritual being of consciousness, which is timeless, then everything that you see here at this physical level, they are all changing. They are temporary and they are changing all the time. They are changing unexpectedly, unpredictably, without even your permission. But the invisible experiencer, the being of consciousness, transcends these changes. This understanding, this perspective gives us a feeling of calm, a feeling of peace, a feeling of being secure, irrespective of what's happening in this physical dimension. This is the experience of feeling secure as a spiritual being, like a traveler, one who is a guest in this physical dimension for a temporary period of time, which means the end of this physical body does not mean the end of the real self. This gives a deeper understanding of the sense of security. And that generates peace. That generates a feeling of appreciation, genuine love, unconditional on external situations, external behavior, because the deep sense of security is based on or independent of external factors. It generates a feeling of freedom, generates a feeling of enthusiasm, a feeling of creativity, and the true nature and the energy of the self emerges. As if the self is unshackled, is set free from the different bondages, from the different attractions or attachments of different parts and components of the physical world. Our sense or our perspective of self broadens, our perspective of self expands, and as if we can transcend the different roles and identities, like I am a teacher, or I am a physician, or I am a nurse, or even I am a male, because as souls, we are beyond gender. So as we come out of these limited attachments of this physical world, we get into the experience of feeling secure. And when we feel secure, we can feel content. There is a feeling of joy. There is a feeling of love. There is a feeling of involved detachment. And that is a feeling which every one of us are seeking, and are seeking in their own way. When we feel secure, we the best in us emerges. The best in us emerges in the form of our feelings, in the form of our behavior, in the quality of our relationships. And when we are insecure, the opposite happens. The worst in us emerges, but depending on the level of and depth of insecurity. Most of us, if not all, are trying to make ourselves feel secure. We get into relationships not to be insecure, but with the hope that we will be secure. When we feel secure, we are at ease. When we feel secure, we feel happy and content, and we can love. When we are insecure, opposite emotions emerge. We feel fearful. There is anxiety. There are feelings of jealousy. There are feelings of competitiveness. And there are a whole slew of desires which emerge from that feeling of insecurity. And if those desires are not met, then we can even feel annoyance, irritation, and even anger. All of us are trying to address this, but we are addressing it at this level, at the physical level. We think that if I have a job, I will be secure. If I have the latest and greatest car, I will be secure. If I have a lot of bank balance, I will be secure. If I have a good relationship, I will be secure. Nothing wrong with this. We are all doing this. What we are essentially doing is we are trying to own or have things at this level. Now, this desire to own things at this level actually makes us even more insecure, because everything that is here, the whole idea of making us feel secure by owning things which are temporary, makes us deep inside more insecure, because we start feeling what will happen if they are not there. We start creating a vocabulary of mine and my, and I want it and I must have it. So we say my car, my house, my job, my community. And we start growing what we call attachments. Attachments, and in the long run, actually makes us feel even more insecure. Just to take a gross example, say you have the latest and the greatest car and you feel secure. Now, another important thing is that, when we use the word my so very, what should I say, frequently, it almost feels like we have a fascination with the word my, and that word my has a magic um, effect of making us feel secure. It probably does, but that feeling of security is still very temporary because it is based on things which are temporary. And going back to the example of the car, so you get the latest and greatest car, you feel secure, perfect. But what happens when the car gets old? What happens if somebody crashes into the car? What happens to your sense of self? What happens to your sense of security? It probably will be little affected. So once we get into this mindset, we are getting into creating insecurity. We are getting into creating attachments and identifications. And identifications is even deeper attachment. When your sense of self, when your sense of identity is based on the car, then tomorrow, if someone criticizes the car, you will feel that they are criticizing me. Now, this process of creating ego, creating attachments, creating identifications generates a lot of emotions which are essentially negative, useless, harmful, even unpleasant. Feelings of annoyance, feelings of anger, feelings of greed, feelings of wanting more and more. And because of wanting more and more, you have more. And when you have more, there is the feeling of losing it, and there is the feeling of insecurity. So it's almost like going through a downward spiral with no end in sight. Spiritual knowledge provides a completely different option, which is absolutely fascinating and extremely useful. And meditation is a wonderful tool to explore, to experiment, and to experience. So, one of the aspects of the feeling of insecurity at the internal level is when we realize that the true self, the real self, is timeless. And the real self is independent of whatever is happening at the physical level. In other words, the end of the physical body does not mean the end of the real self. Irrespective of what is happening here, the circumstances here, we as souls exist. We exist as beings of consciousness, higher beings. In the practice of meditation, there is the possibility to experience that, to get a sense of that. What happens is we create an atmosphere, an experience of calmness, an experience of freedom, and that reinforces and strengthens the feeling of security. The more we feel secure, the more peaceful we become. When we are insecure, it's not really possible to be completely peaceful, truly peaceful. If you are insecure, it is not possible to be truly loving. There can be attraction. There can be feeling of sharing and caring because there is some expectation. But true, clean, selfless, unconditional love is not possible when we are insecure, because we are needy. We have some expectations. So to create this foundation at an internal level, what we need to do is to shift our perspective from this bodily identity to the spiritual identity, to the identity of being, a being of light. Now, another angle or another aspect of the feeling of security is by having the consciousness of a traveler in this world, a guest in this world, a visitor who is temporarily visiting, and at the end of the journey, the visitor goes back. So if you are a visitor, that means the visitor is coming from another dimension and coming into the physical dimension. And that dimension is what we call home. That dimension is what we call home. Now, that dimension has different characteristics than the dimension here, the physical dimension. Just like the dimension of the self, the being of consciousness is non-physical. Similarly, the dimension of home is also non-physical. The dimension of the physical world is a dimension where things are constantly changing. Everything here has a beginning and there is an end. Everything here changes and changes continuously. It's a fact. Everything changes here sooner or later. And that is why we have the concept of time as a measure of change. So that is an attribute of the physical world. The non-physical world, home, the home of souls, is timeless, is changeless, is eternal, immortal, just like the soul. In the physical world, we have noise. Sorry, we have sound, which sometimes is more like noise. Lot of noise, lot of sound, lot of actions, activities, and bodies. The physical dimension, the non-physical dimension, the dimension of home, is a dimension of silence, a dimension of stillness, a dimension which is changeless, a dimension where time has no reference. And this is the home of souls. This is also called as nirvana. Some of you must have heard the term. Nirvana means beyond sound. Now, this is the home of souls. Spiritual knowledge says that we are all souls. So everybody that we are seeing through the physical eyes, they are essentially, in reality, spiritual beings who have taken this body and they're playing their part in the play of humanity. So behind this physical structure, there is that invisible experiencer, the being of consciousness. So, and they're all travelers. Everyone is here. Everyone travels through time and space. Everyone experiences, and at the end of their journey, they go back home. So if all souls belong to home, that means all souls are part of one family. An experience which Shweta mentioned in the very beginning. We are all one. We are all belonging to one family, a family of travelers. So, this is another aspect of understanding the feeling of security, the deep understanding of the feeling of security. So, using your own experience and your power of reasoning, one is to understand the real self as a being of consciousness who is timeless, unaffected, irrespective of what is happening here. And the other is the experience of a family. And as souls, we never die. So the truth is, we really cannot lose anyone. We are all here. We might not come into interaction with everyone in this dimension, but at the end of the journey, we all go back home. So, home, self, the experience of home and the experience of self as a spiritual being, godlike, divine, higher being, unaffected by what's happening at this level, gives us a deep feeling of security. And from when we feel secure, it is easy to be compassionate. It's easy to be content. And when we have that inner contentment, we can bring that quality of contentment in our interactions in the physical world. So, this is another very interesting area in terms of the contents that helps to create spiritual thoughts which will finally lead us to spiritual experiences, which is part of our meditation. Now, what we haven't talked about are some of the steps that we can go through our meditation, which you have already experienced in the past two meditation exercises. But very briefly, I like to mention them. And there are 4 steps, and pardon my handwriting. Next time I'm going to write it little more bold font. So the first step is withdraw. The second is to choose a topic. The third is concentrate, and the fourth is to experience the feelings. So we already went through these. If you recall the meditation, the way Rona and Shweta did it. So what do we mean by withdraw? By withdraw, we are focusing our attention to go inwards and withdrawing our attention from the external world. We make an attempt to accept the external world as it is. And with certain amount of determination and curiosity, we try to focus our attention inwards as if we are trying to go away from the external. So that's the first step. Go inwards and experience the inner being, the invisible experiencer who is experiencing all of this in the physical world. And then choose a topic of spiritual significance. So some of the topics can be the soul as a guest, the soul as a traveler, the soul as an observer, the experience of home, the experience of immortality. What does it mean to be invisible? What does it mean I never die. So these are topics that will help you to get into the next step, which is concentration. Concentration is basically to flood your mind with these spiritual ideas so that all other competing thoughts can be pushed away and you can stay focused. And then when you are in that state, try to feel or experience what sort of feelings are being evoked by concentrating on those topics, because we haven't been really thinking that way before. Now that I am thinking in these on these topics, what sort of feelings I'm generating? But there's no need to go into all this now. Let's stick to the first two for today. And at the end of the session today, we will be sending you handouts where there will be certain guidelines in terms of these steps. And we will also give you some meditation links, and there will be all these different topics that can help you to get started on your meditation. I hope you got some ideas about the other aspects in continuation of our spiritual knowledge. And I'd like to hand it over to Rona for our final thoughts and also to end with a meditation. And thereafter, we can take questions too.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Shweta and Subin. Very, very nice, very clear explanation. Maybe we take just 1 or 2 minutes just to become introvert again, and then we can open the floor for some questions, if there are some questions, and then we will end it with a bit longer meditation. So just a moment, just let it all sink in. At one level, it appears quite light and nice and easy, but at the same time, these are quite deep understandings. No? So we keep the body comfortable and let also the breathing become regular. And we withdraw our attention from everything that happened in this morning and this week, and we just bring our focus and our attention in this present moment, right here, right now. And create that awareness that there are these physical surroundings and there is this body. But the real self is this being of consciousness, the invisible experiencer, the one who is like a traveler, timeless, tiny little star. And we choose the topic of invisible and timeless to ponder on a bit more. Body is visible, but the one who is creating thoughts and feelings, the one who is experiencing, is invisible. Real self, soul, living light, operating from the center of the forehead. And we just reflect on this living star who is a guest in this body, a guest in this physical world. And as we go through the rest of the day, let us aim to hold this image of tiny star in the mind with a little bit of a feeling that is the real self, spiritual being of light. Thank you. And so this whole process of meditation is to kind of digest this information and to grasp the deeper meaning of this. And these are different kinds of thoughts. We generally are not thinking in this way, and we're not thinking about ourselves in this way. And so for meditation, we need to learn to shift the content of our thoughts, make the thoughts more spiritual, and grasp this spiritual dimension, this invisible dimension of self and of life, and come into that experience of being an invisible, timeless, imperishable spiritual being, eternally secure. Such a key experience to feel secure, but to feel secure based on what is imperishable and invisible, because this is all limited and changing. Secure in an unlimited way. Try and grasp that. Okay, so any questions or comments? If you have, you can put on your camera and then say, or if you don't want to, you can just say, or you can also type it in the chat. Feel free. Vaishali, go ahead.
Hi. Yeah.
Hello.
Mm, Hi, Subhan. I was saying just being secure, it's easy for somebody who is starting doing meditation. How exactly do you feel secure?
It starts with beginning to reflect on this idea that I'm not this body, and that I'm not a bodily being, but that I'm a spiritual being who transcends the limitations of time and space. And feeling insecure, feeling some level of anxiety has become so normal, but it is connected with this deeper conditioned belief that I need things and that I own things and that this is mine and I want this and I need this. And so we can be deprived and we can lose. So this deeper, what would be the word, conditioned pattern and this belief system that we own things and that we can lose things. And not only things, we can lose people. We can lose this body. We can lose our physical possessions in between brackets. So we can lose people. No? And this is consciously or subconsciously, there is this deeper belief that we can lose. And that is what makes us feel insecure. Now, with your spiritual practices and with your spiritual understandings, coming into this soul conscious state, this soul awake awareness, we start to understand we cannot lose anyone truly ever. I am soul, a spiritual being. Everyone else is a soul, and we're all traveling together. And we all belong to that home of souls together forever. And I cannot lose anything here because I never owned it in the first place. It was never mine. Now, this body, including this body, it is not truly mine. It belongs to nature. And it was given to me on loan. And at some stage, I had to give it back. So if something was never mine, I can also never truly lose it. I can just be grateful for the extra time that I get to use it. So to shift in that sense of being safe and secure, there has to be that sense of even this body is not me and it is not mine. Soul is an imperishable, the real self is imperishable, immortal, timeless, and God-like being of light. No, so and that deeper realization and getting into this kind of thinking and experiencing will give that feeling of relief. Can't lose anything ever. Can't lose anyone ever. And then when you get a taste of this sense of security, you also get a deeper sense of that peace that comes with it. But this requires a certain, what is the word? Deeper reflection, taking time to ponder on this, taking time to meditate on this. But we live in a world and in a society where we are so much into possessing and mine and I and identifying and getting attached that just makes us feel more insecure. So we have to kind of, roll back and re-evaluate for ourselves. If if I really own anything, it means it should be mine forever. That doesn't apply to anything here, even this body. So this owning nothing and cannot lose anything because nothing truly is mine ever. That is the key for the experience of feeling secure and the timeless nature of the real self. So more in your meditations, you get into those experiences, you will start feeling relieved and start feeling secure. And fears and anxieties will start coming down. Even children, we have so much this attitude of mine, mine, mine. More we say mine, more we are insecure. They're not my children. They're children of life and they're souls who belong to God and have their own journey. But we share the journey together for a temporary period of time. So I appreciate and I enjoy and interact and love, but not own. They have their own journey. And at some time, our journeys will part. And so to come out of this bondage of thinking and possessing and owning and mine and identifying and attachments, to come out of that will naturally put us in a space of being secure. Reflect on it.
So then what is the difference between once you start coming out of that, I don't own anything, then how do you still stay connected with your loved ones?
How do you stay?
Connected with the loved ones?
Huh. When we are secure, we are actually more loving, because our love is not a demanding, or our love is not an expecting, but our love is an appreciation and an encouragement, and a fascination with the beauty of who is you, and an encouragement for you being the best of who you are. So there is very much involvement, and there's very much love and appreciation, but there's no bondage. There's no demand and expectation. You sit here now and do what I want and do as I say, otherwise I feel insecure. No, you be who you are, and you be the best of who you are. So it is not a demanding and a imposing and a expecting kind of interaction, but it is a giving interaction, a freeing and an appreciating of the beauty of who is you, because I don't need you to make me feel secure. I feel secure, and I appreciate who you are for what you are and how you are. And I see you as my spiritual brother. That may be the highest act of love. But when we are insecure, we cannot truly love. I can only love you. If I'm insecure, I can only love you when you fulfill my demands and my needs and my expectations. But when you don't, I take you to court. That's not truly love. No, that is a bargain and dealing. But when I feel secure, then I can appreciate, because I don't need you to make me secure. Understand?
Okay.
There was another question I think someone wrote in the chat.
Yeah, I can read that,
Yeah,
Rona.
okay.
This is coming from Realme C11. So that's quite a name. Uh, we all usually compare ourselves with other people in those things which we are not good at. So,
Mm,
how to overcome this? How to awaken that sense of uniqueness in ourselves?
mm. When one thing that also happens when we are secure, truly secure, uh, through this practice, no, of this soul identity, enforcing our soul identity. Um, that security also brings out a certain creativity. Your creativity gets released, and there will be unique skills and unique talents and unique interests to you, and you will start recognizing that. No, so for example, one thing that happened when I started to meditate, I started to get all kind of artistic literature impulses, and started to want to write all these beautiful feelings and beautiful concepts. And so some I wouldn't call it poetry, but like Rona style poetry emerged. That was very unique to self. And I could still appreciate other people doing what they are unique at, even if they are also writing poetry. But also there is the appreciation for the talents that emerge within the self. But it also comes from that deeper sense of being secure. When we are insecure, we also compare. The ego within, which is also always insecure, that ego is always comparing. Are they better or not? Am I worse or not? When that ego comes down, when there's the true sense of the true self, and you get this more refined, when you start to perceive that refined nature of the self as a awake spiritual being, there is only appreciation for the self, and you don't need to be better than anybody else to appreciate self. You can see the beauty and the goodness and the greatness of everyone, and that makes you great and beautiful. And in that deeper sense of feeling secure, your creativity and your talents and your interests and your skills will blossom.
I think Stephen Strauss wants to ask a question.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Stephen, if you unmute your mic.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, Stephen.
Well, I will admit that I have a challenging question. And also I got my second COVID vaccine yesterday, and I've been trying to stay awake all day. I'm not really doing very well, but okay. You, I heard you, all of you talk about two different kinds of things. One was what what we can gain from meditating, which was the reason I showed up today. I need in my life something to help me not feel anxious,
Mm.
not feel uncomfortable feelings, things like that. I I get it a little bit from swimming. I swim regularly, and every time I do a lap, I count the number of the lap. You know, each time I move my arm, if it's lap 3, I say 3, 3, 3, and then I'm 4. Then on lap 4, 4, 4, 4, and at the end, I can tell that I'm different, not
Mm.
just physically, but my mind has gotten to a better place. However, it's still not good enough. And that's why someone suggested to me, look into meditation.
Mm.
Um, However, I will say, let me ask you this. Do you have to believe the kinds of things that you believe about the cosmos, about the universe, in order to do the meditation that you're describing? Because I do not believe that there is a separate universe of souls. I don't believe that. I
Mm.
believe that if there is something spiritual, it's right here. And I don't believe it's anywhere else.
Mm.
But it sounds like when you're talking about meditating, it's you have to focus on this other world, the infinite, the timeless.
Mm.
And so what do you do? Can you meditate if the purpose is to lose anxiety, lose uncomfortable feelings, and yet you don't believe all of the things that you were saying? Do you see what my question is?
Yeah. Very good. I very much appreciated the question, and this is the position of many, I think, when they first hear these kinds of understandings. And very good. Um, there are, first of all, there are different types of meditation, no? And this type of meditation is a combination of these spiritual understandings with meditation exercises. And this type of meditation does focus on soul awareness and reviving the spiritual self, no? And this uh, this invisible dimension is not somewhere else. It is right here, right now. It is like parallel. No? At this moment in time, there is this physical reality, the body, but there at the same time there is the dimension of thoughts and the dimension of feelings, and they are real too. No, and they are not somewhere else, they are right here, but they are simultaneously going on. There is the bodily reality, the physical reality, and there is the reality of my thoughts and the reality of my feelings, which are intangible. And to do this meditation, it is not a question of belief. It is more a question of uh, uh, an open mind and reflecting on these things. And do they appeal to me? And what doesn't appeal to me, what I cannot relate to, you leave it aside. But are there things that appeal to me and that do give me a sense of, yes, that is something new that I could work with? And this whole idea of this inner being, or this being of consciousness, as an independent entity from the body, that is very key to this type of meditation. So there needs to be some openness to that concept for this meditation to work for you. Yes. But it is not like some other dimension somewhere else. It's right here, human being. There is the human part, the physical part, and the being part. And to come more to that awareness that I am that being using the physical body. And the being has different characteristics. And more I start to experience the being, the being of consciousness, the inner being, that makes it possible to come in a state of calm and a state of peace that is durable. No, and it's very beautiful how you described your swimming, because what happens when we swim and many types of sports is our mind becomes, there are thoughts are of a specific kind. So all these useless and repetitive thoughts and cyclical thoughts, they are minimized at that moment. And you are saying, no, you are counting lap 3, 3, 3, 3. So thoughts are focused. And that is very good. So it eliminates lots of other clutter. But then when swimming stops, we are back to the same thing. With meditation, what we're trying to do is to to guide our thoughts in a certain way to think spiritually in whatever situation we are in. So I hope that helps little.
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay. Time goes so fast. So let's have, we're already over time. Let's close with the closing meditation. And so again, this first step, withdraw your attention from everything that happened today and yesterday and the whole week. And we just accept the world as it is for just these coming few moments. Completely accept it means we don't need to create thoughts about it. Accept things as they are. We can't change them anyway, so we might as well accept. And just come back to the essence of your own being. There is this body, a very beautiful vehicle, beautiful gift of nature. And there is the being, the one who creates thoughts and feelings, the one who has experiences, the inner being, living light. Free, pure, peaceful, transcending the limitations of matter. And if you want to use an image for this being, the image of light or star, can be useful. And just fill the screen of your mind for a few moments with this image of tiny star of light, living, conscious, aware, thinking, but invisible experiencer. Pure, peaceful light. And as we continue to journey, just reflect on this thought that we are spiritual beings, guests, visitors, and travelers. Thank you and have a good day, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
Thank you, sister.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Om
Om
Shanti.
Shanti.